So yeah, so this verse and the next one are really kind of where we live. These two verses are really important to us. It's a place where many of us get stuck, and it helps to, I think, hopefully will give us a way to get unstuck, to move forward. So we'll begin here. So it's we'll start here. These are verses here first. I'm going to share the screen with you also. You can see the right. Let's see here. Okay. All right. So we're going to start with the verses that Lord Chaitanya spoke after the first verse. He reflects a little bit and sums up what was happening in the first verse. So the first verse of Siksastaka was Antilita 2012, and so 2013. This is Lord Chaitanya speaking. By performing congregational chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra, one can destroy the sinful condition of material existence, purify the unclean heart, and awaken all varieties of devotional service. And then he goes on to say, the result of chanting is that one awakens his love for Krishna and tastes transcendental bliss. Ultimately, one attains the association of Krishna and engages in his devotional service as if immersing himself in a great ocean of love. And then now here it describes like what he's feeling after that. I mean, he's really struck by that, the potency of the holy name. And it says, lamentation and humility awoke within Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. And he began reciting another of his own verses. By hearing the meaning of that verse, one can forget all unhappiness and lamentation. So that's today's focus. Nam namakari bahuda nija sarva shaktis tatrapita niyamata smarane nakalaha etadrishi tava kripa bhagavan mamapi durdaiva midrisha mahajanina naragaha. And Srila Prabhupada's translation is, my Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, in your holy name there is all good fortune for the living entity, and therefore you have many names, such as Krishna and Govinda, by which you expand yourself. You have invested all your potencies in those names, and there are no hard and fast rules for remembering them. My dear Lord, although you bestow such mercy upon the fallen conditioned souls by liberally teaching your holy names, I am so unfortunate that I commit offenses while chanting the holy name, and therefore I do not achieve attachment for chanting. So I think this should start to sound pretty familiar to most of us, that here we receive this incredible gift, and what is our level of attachment for it? So there's some misfortune in our lives. And I think if we look at this verse, we can find the key to removing that obstacle. So let's look at there's several portions, really. And so the first thing it says that the Lord has nam nam, he has many names, bahuda nam nam, many various names that he's manifested, and they all have this nija sarva shakti. They have all of his potencies invested in them, all of his shakti, all of his energies. And so he's providing those names. He's releasing those names into the world and giving them to us. And Lord Chaitanya, after this verse, he explains this part. He says, because people vary in their desires, you have distributed various holy names by your mercy. So imagine Krishna's kindness. The holy name does all the various things mentioned in the first verse, but he's considering, well, maybe some people, not everybody wants to chant the same name. Maybe they'll have attractions to a variety of names. And so he's thinking in that way. So it says because they vary in their desires, he's given us many different choices of names to chant. We're particularly attached to the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, but there's many other names of Krishna which can work. So he's very considerate. Krishna is there. And then, and so first of all, he has all these names, which are, and so you have all these names, which are filled with his potencies. And then he says, then it's like, it's very easy to deal with them. He says this niyamata is regulations or restrictions, smarane and remembering, right? And without regard to time. So like many times with Vedic mantras, there's lots of restrictions. Only certain persons can do it, qualified Brahmins usually. Sometimes they have to be in a state of ritual purity. Sometimes there are certain, auspicious times to do it. And so oftentimes there's restrictions. And here, Lord Chaitanya, again, after the verse, he reflects and he says, regardless of time or place, so he says there's even more than is given in the verse, one who chants the holy name, even while eating or sleeping, attains all perfection. So he's considerate, giving us all these different names which are filled with his potencies. And then he says, that he's going to make it very easy for you to chant them. Basically, anytime, anywhere, anyhow, anybody. There you go. He's going to make it as easy as possible for you to do it. So then the next line he's reflecting on, how merciful that is. Etadrashi, so much tava your kripa, your mercy. So how much mercy that shows. How kind you are to us. Not only to give something so valuable, but to be so liberal in it, to give it to anybody, to make it easy for us to do it. So there's tremendous kindness coming from Krishna that's showing in this verse. And then something strange happens, right? So because of my misfortune, Daivam is destiny or fortune, and the dur is a negative prefix. Because of my misfortune, my attachment, says Ajani, has never developed, was not born. So even though it's so wonderful and you're so kind and it's so easy, I find that I'm not very attached to it. And so he's considering himself to be very, very unfortunate in that regard. And it's surprising, right? Something so wonderful, something so easy. Why would there not be an attachment for it? It's a surprise. And then Lord Chaitanya says, also reflecting on this verse, he says, you have invested your full potencies in each individual holy name. But I am so unfortunate that I have no attachment for chanting your holy names. Okay, so again, it's very, very odd. But it's something that most of us have or are experiencing. So here, if you notice in the translation, and the word for word, Durdaivam just means misfortune. But Srila Prabhupada has named the misfortune. It's not just bad luck. It's something that we've done to ourselves. It's self-inflicted misfortune, that there's offenses against the holy name. That's the cause of the misfortune, and which causes then the lack of attachment. In the first verse, the word sankirtan, that san we mentioned is a prefix that means together, so it means congregational chanting, but also san means
parece que eu tô ouvindo agora.
Something that's that's done perfectly, completely. And so if there's offenses, right, then it doesn't have the same effect. So it's pointing to a problem here with offenses. Now the verse itself, like I said, last time we said that the verse was about Shraddha, if we compare it to the various stages of bhakti. And Prabhupada defined it in the beginning, one must have a preliminary desire for self-realization. So Prabhupada defined it in the Gita purport. But then that's a beginning. and you have some preliminary desire, but then the desire strengthens, usually through the association of devotees. So here it says that this verse is presuming sadhu sangha, the second stage. People are associating with devotees, and that strengthens the faith. And so it reaches a point like this. This is a description of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in the Madhurya Kadambini. So you can see that this faith is a little stronger. The Shraddha is firm trust in the import of the bhakti scriptures. And then even maybe more importantly, it also means to have a genuine desire to undertake the activities described in those scriptures and strong desire to attain the goal. So generally, if one first gets an interest, associates with devotees, they may begin to do some of the devotional activities. They begin to have more faith in it. They start to become more active and begin to really consider taking up the path of bhakti properly. And when that happens, then there's usually, again, more sadhu sangha. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, then by receiving instructions, by taking shelter of the lotus feet of a guru and inquiring from him in the proper way, one attains auspicious association. So then through guidance, you may take a formal vow and really take up the process. And at that point, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, then next he takes up the practice of different types of service. This is called bhajana kriya, or the execution of devotional activity. So this is now taking up the formal practice of bhakti. And he says that bhajana kriya is also of two varieties: unsteady or anishtita, and steady, nishtita. And so there's two divisions there, and there's something that happens in between, which is called anartha nivritti, that transfers one to the other. And here Prabhupada mentions here in the purport to 410, he says, in the next stage, one becomes initiated by an elevated spiritual master, and under his instruction, the neophyte devotee begins the process of devotional service. By execution of devotional service under the guidance of the spiritual master, one becomes free from all material attachment and attains steadiness. So this is the sequence there. The execution of devotional service, that's unstudied devotional service, free from all material attachment, then allows steadiness. So the steady nishtita bhajana kriya happens. That's described here. So this verse is describing kind of most plainly a nishtita bhajana kriya, but the unsteady practice. Here I am, but I don't have attachment. Nanaragaha, the strange thing of nanaragaha. And that's caused by the unsteady practice is caused by, well, it says, and again, it's strange. It says that, he says that even though you've invested your full potencies, I'm unfortunate and don't have that. So that's saying this is the problem. If I had attachment, then it would be steady, but I don't have attachment. And so, and Prabhupada emphasizes there has to be that one becomes free from all material attachment in order to attain steadiness. So this is the problem. The unsteady practice results from our competing spiritual and material desires. We've been living in this material world for many, many, many lifetimes. And we have a certain way we've always thought. We're self-centered in so many ways. We really, our orientation. Krishna Prabhupada says that our prema turns into kama, desire or lust, when we enter into the material world. So we're used to a certain way of living, and Krishna consciousness is the inverse of that. And so when we take up Krishna consciousness, we're fighting against all this momentum. So we understand certain things a certain way in the material world, certain desires are their material desires. We have certain attachments of their material. And so we see that those things fight each other. And when they're inversely proportional, right? When the spiritual ones go up, the material ones seem to fade away. Wow. And when the material ones come up, the spiritual enthusiasm goes down. So in the stage of anishtita sadhana bhakti, there's this fluctuation. Sometimes the service is you have great enthusiasm and sometimes less enthusiasm. It waxes and wanes in proportion to this competition. Who's winning the competition between your spiritual and material aspirations? People usually want to be able to have both things increase, but it doesn't work that way. So there's a competition there. And that's causing the conflict, and all these material things are summarized as anarthas, things that aren't desirable. They're probably because of unwanted things or not desirable things. Artha means valuable, so they have no value. So this verse is presuming. The first one was the original Shraddha, and then it presumes that you go through sadhu sangha. Begin to take up the process in a preliminary way, have, deeper connection with the guru, take up the practice in a more serious way, but now running into this problem of unsteadiness. But the verse then also points to how we can eliminate that unsteadiness if you can understand the cause of it. And so we heard that the main thing there is offenses. That's what's really hurting us. So, yeah, so that the Siksastaka, the second verse, is going to help us, I think, to find a way forward through the offenses, the anarthas. And here it mentions in this is a verse quoted from the Srimad Bhagavatam, but it shows why offenses affect us so badly. Right? And this translation I prefer to the one in the Bhagavatam. So this is from Caitanya Adilila 8:25. If one's heart does not change, tears do not flow from his eyes, his body does not shiver, and his bodily hairs do not stand on end as he chants the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, it should be understood that his heart is as hard as iron. This is due to his offenses at the lotus feet of the Lord's holy name. In the Bhagavatam, Prabhupada says that the heart is steel framed, and the word is ashma saram, and that also can mean like stone. So anyway, hard-heartedness is the result of offenses to the holy name. And then in the Madhurya Kadambini, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, one should have no doubt that the holy name has such inestimable power, as we heard in the first verse. But because the holy name is unhappy with offenses committed against it, it does not manifest its complete power in the offender. So that's what happens. So how can you get stuck, right? Well, if you have the holy name and you're chanting it, how can you get stuck? Because the holy name, has all the power to purify you in so many ways and cause, all the way up to Krishna Prema to develop. But if we don't take it properly, then this is the holy name won't reciprocate with us. Is unhappy with the offenses, and so doesn't manifest its total power. Bhakti is an exchange. It's not just a mechanical process. Since Krishna is the holy name, he feels your lack of appreciation. So it's not within the scope of this series of classes to talk about all the offenses. We have the 10 offenses that were, oftentimes we would always chant in the temple before chanting. We'd recite the 10 offenses. But it's interesting that I think this verse correlates more with the I said, quote, 11th offense. And we have the one we chant the 10 offenses, and it says, and it's also an offense to be inattentive while chanting. I guess that's kind of the, it doesn't merit a number, and we kind of toss it in at the end. And so I think many times we think that that's not such an important one. The other ones, have numbers and they're there, and this one's kind of tossed in at the end. But according to the Harinam Chintamani, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, that 11th offense is really, really crucial. And I think this verse in the Siksastaka really speaks to that and how we can remedy that particular one. So here it says, this is from the Harinam Chintamani, chapter 12. Haridas continued to speak, "Oh Lord," he's speaking to Lord Chaitanya. Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote this, in the voice of Haridas Thakur. "O Lord, here in Puri, you taught the importance of performing chanting of the name without negligence to Sanatan Goswami, and in South India to Gopal Bhatta. You have counted inattention, pramada, as one of the aparads, one of the offenses. If inattention is present in one's chanting of the name, one cannot attain nishta or steadiness. And without steadiness, one cannot attain prema. Therefore, inattention must be given up." And then he says again, also in chapter 12, he says, "Pramada means inattention or carelessness. It is from this offense that all anarthas arise, all the things that are blocking us from nishta." So this is a very, very important offense, this 11th offense. Right? And again, he goes on, he says, even if one successfully overcomes all the other offenses in chanting, and even if one chants the name continuously, prema may still not appear. The reason for this is that one commits the offense known as pramada or inattention. This offense will block the progress to prema. And if we look at it from a personal point of view, it makes a lot of sense. Right? Krishna is giving us the holy name. The name is Krishna. And it's a personal gift to us. And how do we respond? By not barely acknowledging him. And it says that there's 3 kinds in the Harinam Chintamani. And they correlate with modes of nature, really. There's sleepiness. You can be inattentive because you're nodding off and sleepy and just dull. That's mode of ignorance. And there's distraction, which also should be familiar to us. You're chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, but so many other thoughts are coming and you have so many other interests and all things are going through your head and you're looking around. So you're distracted from the name. And then this is more in the mode of goodness. You're not sleepy, not distracted, but there's kind of not any kind of zest or real enthusiasm for it. You're able to do it without those 2 things, but it's not really, you don't really have attachment, right? You just kind of do it. You're able to do it. So those things are there. And so I really think that if we look more carefully at the second verse, that we can find some useful information here that can help us to address that particular very important offense. And so if you look at that part where Krishna or where Lord Chaitanya is speaking of Krishna's mercy, right? My dear Lord, although you bestow such mercy upon the fallen conditioned souls by liberally teaching your holy names, right? He's grateful. This is a mood of gratitude. Wow, you are so kind. And so he has a grateful heart there. So I think there's a need for gratitude. Gratitude is implied there so much in this verse. This is one thing we should take note of. We don't deserve it. This gift is it's beyond any conception. There's nothing else that is anywhere near as valuable as the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, which can produce Krishna Prema. There's nothing we've ever imagined in any of our previous lives or this life or any future life that could be equal to that. Krishna Prema, that's what Krishna does. He's the Supreme Lord. He can have any world he wants. He can do anything he wants. This is his private life and we're invited. It just doesn't get better than that. Nothing comes close. So, and we know it's causeless mercy. How can we deserve such a thing anyway? But it's just in case we're really, really proud, it's always mentioned that it's causeless mercy. It's given freely by the Lord's devotees. So given how, we're getting this incredibly valuable gift, and we're giving it, it's coming from Krishna with such a kind heart. I give you different, I don't put any restrictions on it. I give you choice of names. right? It's coming with such kindness from Krishna, and it's so valuable. It's really surprising that we would have any inattentiveness, that we wouldn't be really excited about it, right? Because usually, if something is valuable, right, you're going to be interested. Something is, if somebody says, hey, I'm going to tell you how to easily get, $10 billion. Right? You go, oh, it's interesting. And if something is, if something is interesting, valuable and interesting, attention is easy. Right? If we're really interested in something, attention is easy. It just happens automatically. If there's some kind of, information that you're really interested in, you don't have to say, oh, stop, don't tell me, let me do some pranayam first. Let me light some incense and create a certain atmosphere. You're all ears. Somebody tells you, if money has value for you, somebody says, hey, and you really believe it could be true, I can tell you how to get $10 billion. You're all ears in a second. So here we have it. We have value. Right? We should have interest, and because of that, and we should have attention easily. And given the fact that it's a gift from Krishna, it's only, it's a gift. When things are gifts, even then you tend to, if you care about the person who gave it, you treat that with some care. So again, it's strange that we don't. And so what happens, and in fact, we've noticed that there's many years people notice a certain phenomena, and I don't know if people talk about this so much anymore, but oftentimes when people start chanting, they really have some powerful experiences. I think because of that, because it's interesting to them. They may not even have such full faith, but here it is, this wonderful sound does all these wonderful things. Try it. I know my spiritual master, he was a college student, and he was studying religion. He was in graduate school. And he said he understood that to be advanced spiritually, you had to remove all your material desires. And he tried many different things and failed miserably. And then somehow he got the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. He met the devotees and got that, and it started to work. And he said it almost freaked him out. He thought, what have I gotten into? And so we see that that people start out and they really seem to make progress in devotional service really quickly. There's a lot of enthusiasm. The holy name reciprocates with their interest and their attention and their gratitude. And then, right, things kind of, the air comes out of the balloon a little bit. And it seems to there's a deflation happens. All that doesn't, you think it would just continue, right? Because when you get the reciprocation from the holy name, that should make it seem even more valuable. Your faith should increase, your interest should increase. It should just mushroom, expand until it continues. But something happens, and people end up feeling deflated and stuck, right? And there used to be, I don't know if people still talk about this, but there used to be, circulated pretty widely. I don't think it was based on anything scriptural or anything that Srila Prabhupada said, but people used to explain it this way. They said, well, when somebody takes up Krishna consciousness, Krishna kind of just love bombs them, hits them with so much mercy that, there's undeserved mercy, special mercy to get them addicted, to set the hook. And then afterwards, he takes that away. That's when you kind of crash, and then you have to earn it. Now, I don't have a lot of faith in that explanation, and I especially this, and I think especially the second half may actually be unhelpful. That we have to earn it after that, because it really seems to me that the initial enthusiasm and wonderful experience and seeming advancement that happens is pretty easily understood just without any, the special mercy is the holy name. That's already a special mercy. It does everything. It's Krishna himself. And because in the beginning, we had that interest, we had that attention, we had that appreciation, that all kinds of things happen. It's a normal thing. Doesn't take us, that doesn't take a special explanation. The holy name just does that. You're not chanting offensively. We hear from Ajamil, where even though he was doing so many simple things, his offenseless chanting had such power. So at that point, we're not making offenses. We're grateful. We're amazed. We're listening. So when that happens for a bit, I think something else happens. Okay? And in the Madhurya Kadambini, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he explains some details about this unsteady phase of devotional service. And he says, and one of the first quality he mentions is this utsaha mayi. So this is a characteristic of unsteady devotional service, anishtita bhajana kriya. And he explains it like this. He says, just as a pupil entering school may think he has already become a great scholar worthy of everyone's praise, a person just beginning devotional service may display the audacity to think that he has mastered everything. Utsaha means enthusiasm, and utsaha mai means a person who possesses enthusiasm to excess. So what's happening here is that the false ego, we've taken up the holy name and we've struck a blow for spiritual life, and the false ego is fighting back. Okay. Like in Star Wars, right? They blew up the Death Star and then the Empire strikes back. Well, the false ego strikes back. The bad guys come back and try to fight back. They don't like this idea. And because the false ego doesn't want to be an undeserving mercy case. That's what we are. We've received tremendous mercy that we cannot, will not, it's impossible to deserve. And it's not because we're anything special. It's causeless mercy, right? So we're undeserving mercy cases. That's what we are. It's a gift that we can't deserve or repay. And the ego doesn't like that, because the false ego wants to be somebody. In this world, if you're a mercy case, isn't that kind of a bad thing? In the regular world, it's a good thing in the spiritual realm. We've received mercy, that's great. But in the material world, being a mercy case means, that you're a low person. You don't have much value. And the false ego wants to be the doer, right? That's one of the issues, the definitions of the false ego. Kartaham iti manyate, I'm the one who's doing it. So you want to take credit. We're making advancement, I want to take credit. I want to be somebody and I want to take credit. And one of the other characteristics of this unsteady devotional service is called Taranga Rangini, or riding the waves of bhakti. And he says that people who are making some progress in devotional service, he says they're naturally attractive. And so people may, they may get, he says puja and pratishta, they get attention, or even worship and positions, perquisites and things like that. So people will give you attention and appreciation. You can get that. And we crave that as conditioned souls. Or we get, certain positions with certain perquisites and privileges and things like that. Prabhupada said the same thing. He says he calls it subtle sexual desire. What was it? Profit, adoration, and distinction. That comes up, and so these things can come through bhakti. You can get these opportunities. through bhakti. And so those can be a temptation for those, and and cause unsteadiness. Oh, I can get something out. I can be somebody now. I can be, people will appreciate me. People will praise me. People will do this. So that thing comes out. So that the ego strikes back. And when that happens, and I guess let's notice first that the Siksastaka, it doesn't say that we do anything, right? It just says that the holy name does everything. We have to chant it, and chant it with some attention. But you don't have to be anybody special. Is giving it freely, and the holy name does all the work. It just speaks. Holy name does this, 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 this. It doesn't say that the devotee does anything. It does all the work. He does all the work. Krishna, Prabhupada always talks about the holy name as he, because it's Krishna himself. That there's nothing that we're doing. What's earning what? The holy name, we were given the holy name. If we treat the holy name with respect, gratitude, holy name does everything. We don't have to have any qualifications. Holy name gives all the qualifications. We mentioned that Shubhada, the production of all the good qualities come out. So the holy name gets all the credit. It's just a simple thing. We have to do something that's quite simple, really, if we don't have attitude. And then the holy name does the work. So this idea of having to earn it. And there's a couple of problems with the earning thing. First of all, you can't earn the holy name. It's priceless. There's nothing you can do to even make a dent in your debt. And the second thing is that, it's the holy name does the work. It's not us. And so, a lot of times, because we think we have to earn it, people who are kind of relatively successful, then their pride can get happened, and other persons who maybe aren't doing so well, right, are looked down upon. A lot of shame. The holy name it's a gift from Krishna's heart. We don't earn it, we don't deserve it. It's given because he says he's the well-wisher of all living beings. He says they're all the souls are his parts. They're mine, he says. And so he begins the process. The devotional service is an exchange. And Krishna begins that exchange. The bhakti means to share. And it's always a personal thing. So if we think that chanting the holy name is a technique, we sometimes think of that. Okay, Krishna gave us this. Okay, it's a tool, a technique, and now it's ours, and that's what we do with it that matters now. Then it seems like we can own it, and we minimize the idea that it's a gift. And it minimizes the personal connection between us and Krishna. In the verse, it was saying, you're so kind, you have so much mercy, Lord. Lord Chaitanya was experiencing that. He has that mercy. That Krishna is giving so much mercy here. So we need to appreciate that. Sometimes we think of it, okay, Krishna dumps the mantra on us, and now we have to use it as a tool to go back to Godhead. It's just, the holy name does everything. Everything for itself. I ran across this quote that made me really think of bhakti. and it's from this. She's an indigenous American, but she's also a botanist, and she has, it's an interesting book has a lot of indigenous wisdom in it. But she says a gift comes to you through no action of your own, free, having moved toward you without your beckoning. It is not a reward. You cannot earn it or call it to you or even deserve it. And yet it appears. Your only role is to be open-eyed and present. Gifts exist in the realm of humility and mystery. As with random acts of kindness, we do not know their source. In our case, we know the source. It's Krishna's kindness. But all these other things are true. The Lord's devotees came and gave us the holy name. We didn't call it. We didn't even know about it. We didn't give us because we were special. We didn't do anything to earn it or anything. It's a gift. Right? It's a gift. So, bhakti is this, it starts this with Krishna's, just inconceivable gift to us. Here we are, rotting in the material world, and Krishna or his devotees drop this on us. The Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. We'll never earn it. We'll never deserve it. We're eternal debtors. But if we just take it with appreciation, if we, don't let that false ego jump up, or we put it back away when it jumps up and says, hey, I'm somebody special now. Right? That I'll take this mantra and become somebody worthy of Krishna. That's what we think when we think, oh, I'm advancing and now I'm better than others. And this is the thing, that whole especially the need to be somebody special. This also triggers the first offense, offending other devotees. When you feel you have to be somebody special, well, how do we measure specialness? We compare ourselves with other human beings. So therefore, we're going to want to think ourselves better. And so oftentimes that's going to mean finding faults with others. So that other offense comes out. There's a reason why that one's number one also. So that when the false ego comes in and attacks us there at that juncture, it does those two things. Because when we start to think that we're doing it ourselves, that now I'm earning it, and now I'm becoming better and better and growing, becoming more substantive, I'm thinking less about Krishna's gift. I'm thinking less about Krishna's mercy. That happened. Okay, that was nice. But now I'm doing the work to go back to Godhead. I thank Krishna for his, initial consideration. But, I'm going to advance, and maybe other people will get it. They won't advance like I am. Whereas, like if somebody puts a pencil and paper in front of me, I can't draw anything. Somebody can give this, it's the same pencil and paper and draw so many things. We think, yeah, some of us are, some of us can have bhakti and others can't. As soon as you start thinking you're doing it, and I'm better than this person, and I'm better than that. And so it does two things. It causes that first offense, and it causes a lack of appreciation and a feeling that it loses that feeling, that personality. So, okay, thanks, Krishna, that was nice. Now I've got it from here. I'm going to do all the things. I'm going to become a great chanter. I'm going to do all this service. I'm going to be this, do many austerities and gain so much knowledge. And I'm going to grow and grow and grow and grow and grow until I'm back into Vaikuntha. But really, it's the holy name that does it, not us. And as soon as we think we're doing it, we're on the ego platform. We're edging Krishna out. His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami used to say, the ego means edging Krishna out. We no longer have the same gratitude. We no longer feel indebted. We think, oh, thank you. That was a nice start, but now I'm gonna do the rest myself. And if we are able to chant properly with the gratitude, the holy name does everything. And it's actually a fact that we can awaken a love in ourselves that will make Krishna feel indebted. Bhakti is all about indebtedness. So when we get on the ego platform and remove that from our consciousness, we've taken ourselves away from bhakti. There's this wonderful verse in the Gopal Champu. It's in the Purva Champu. And when I read this, it blew my mind. This is Jiva Goswami, his composition. And he says, he means Krishna here, by prema, he makes his appearance. Since this is so, he appears in every kalpa, every day of Brahma, during the life of Brahma, to any persons among the inhabitants of Braj, from the king to the salaried man, who have extraordinary pure love as parents. So he's talking in the different kalpas. You know, it's every day of Brahma, Krishna appears on earth. He's saying that at different times, he appears to different folks, but the ones who have the extraordinary pure parental love. And he says, honoring the debt of their accumulated prema. So Krishna feels indebted. And therefore, he says, wanting to clear up the debt, but thinking he could never do so, he appears as their son. So at the very highest levels of bhakti, it's a feeling of indebtedness and a desire to just do whatever you can to repay that. That's the very highest levels. Krishna is experiencing that. So bhakti is about indebtedness. It's not about doing so many things to deserve things or to acquire things or to become things. It's about understanding you've received something of value and trying whatever you're able to do to reciprocate with that. So the minute we take our minds away from the notion that Krishna has given us all these things for free, and we don't deserve it, and we never can earn it, but it's so valuable, then we'll stay in that feeling of gratitude. We'll realize that, we just need to take shelter of the name. And all that just means is we have some attention. We have some gratitude. We have some feeling of indebtedness, and we feel grateful to Krishna. And so to value it. Right now, we can't do so much to reciprocate with Krishna, but we can do that. We can appreciate what a gift it is. We can appreciate Krishna's mercy. We can appreciate what the holy name does and just let the holy name do what it does. We don't have to become great this or great that. The holy name does that for us. I think so this is moving us. This is how we can begin to edge towards this anartha nivritti. Because we need to let the holy name do his job from a feeling of gratitude and indebtedness. Doesn't take so many things. It's not so difficult in some ways. If we have something that we value, we have something that we treasure, attention is easy. But we keep forgetting. So somehow or other, chanting, instead of being this wonderful opportunity, has become a routine, an obligation. And that when we're in that mentality, it doesn't allow the holy name feels that. Hey Krishna, I've got this covered. I'm such a great chanter. I'm doing all these things. I don't need your help. We're helpless. So this is going to, and next time the next verse is about developing these, extending this to much higher levels, which takes us to the stage of Nishta. I really think that, this is kind of where a lot of us are at. And this gives us some notion. It's kind of a simple thing, how we can really make a difference in our lives. All right, so I'm going to stop here and ask if there's any questions or comments.
Dandavats, Giri Govardhan.
Hare Krishna.
Can you hear me?
Dr. Mahaprabhu.
Yeah, but so we've been given this gift, but it's an opportunity. It's not like, we've been given prem. We're in trouble. We're steeped in material desires and attachments. And so the struggle begins so there has to be some effort on our part, and maybe earn is not the right word, but there's some relationship between effort on our part and grace, and it's about pleasing the Lord. It's about, somebody asked a devotee in UK, how is your relationship with the holy name, right? So the holy name being non-different than Krishna. So we've been thrown sort of a life preserver, his name, and now it's incumbent on us to reciprocate, to try to reestablish our connection. Krishna has initiated that connection. And so then Prabhupada got really emotional when he read a letter from one of his disciples who was saying he was so fallen, and he was in details explaining to Prabhupada the struggles that he was going through. And Prabhupada got emotional. And he said, just see how he's struggling for Krishna. So it's a mysterious combination of effort and grace, but it seems like
I guess what I'd say, I think what I'd say to this is that I think there's different kinds of effort. So sometimes when we say there's no effort, it means that we're just kind of don't do anything, right? Seems like there's either effort or there's no, but there's different kinds of effort. And so if I feel gratitude, right, and it's a natural thing for me to want to do something in return. This is bhakti. If I'm going to try to do a lot so I can attract Krishna's attention, or to be deserving, to be something bigger, that's egoistic effort. And so when we feel indebted and we want to repay something, see, this is bhakti, and that can be this is happening in the spiritual world. The people in the spiritual world, Krishna feels indebted to them, and they feel indebted to him, and they're working harder and harder and harder to try to repay that debt that they know they can't do. And so it's more not a question of activity or inactivity, but it's the mentality behind the activity that makes it.
I agree. I agree with that. In that, when I was around Sridhar Maharaj, he said, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, anyone that was around during that time understands that the stress was on developing a service attitude.
Yeah.
So the false ego is opposed to that idea. So we're getting up to the next verse. So we have to shed the false ego and develop a service attitude. So the whole thing is about pleasing Guru, pleasing Krishna. Prabhupada says that the secret to spiritual life is pleasing the spiritual master. So it seems like we're not a passive recipient of a gift. We're expected to participate.
We're able to do whatever we want. We're able to do whatever we want. But what we need to do, first of all, is feel gratitude. And then we'll want to do something back. You see? When somebody gives us that, so that's a natural reaction. And so when we think more in terms of getting bigger and better and doing more and more and more at an egoistic plane, oftentimes it gets us disconnected from our gratitude. So I think that at the beginning, if we just feel gratitude and we then pay attention to the holy name out of gratitude, then the holy name also helps us to clear away so many other things that are blocking us from wanting to be servants and these kinds of things. But the entry
I
point,
agree
the
with
kind
all
of the gateway drug is this appreciation, you know, because we also can't be, you know, it's ultimately as one develops in devotional service, the desire to please Krishna becomes more prominent and more powerful and deeper. You know, but it starts, you have to start where you're beginning with. So it starts with that gratitude, and then you do what you can, you know, in pleasing Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for a wonderful class. And I just remembered as you both were talking, something that I try to follow, but Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj said, and he said, I'm paraphrasing, of course, don't approach the deities to see them, but serve them in such a way that they want to see you. And I think it really resonates with gratitude, because you want to serve, what you're saying, you want to serve in such a way that Krishna says, oh, I want to see my dear devotee who's serving so nicely. And it kind of rejogged my memory of when you both were talking. So thank you.
Oh, that's nice. I appreciate that comment. Yeah, it's true. See, Krishna, ultimately Krishna becomes attracted, right? He sees that we're interested, and so then he becomes more interested. But if the feeling of gratitude just grows all through the whole process of devotional service. But that you have to start there, and that it always grows. Those in Krishna Prema, they feel that because they know Krishna more. Right now, we don't know much about Krishna. We have only a limited experience in the holy name, so partially our gratitude is intellectual. But when people begin to have a real taste of Krishna, then they it blows their minds. They realize what they're dealing with, who they're dealing with, and so their gratitude spikes. So it's something that just continues to grow. So, but we gotta start there, and try to avoid the egoistic type of endeavor as much as you can out of your gratitude. But it's that we have to do. It's bhakti is reciprocation. Definitely is. But the purification is really being done by the name. But if we appreciate the name and handle the name properly, then it works. And do whatever we can do to appreciate that. Yes, Ragamandri, you hand us up.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you for a very nice class. As you were saying, initially the gratitude is at the intellectual level. I was just thinking, yes, for me, the gratitude is at the mind level. It's not at the heart level. So what practical steps that I can do to increase my gratitude, Prabhu?
If of course, I mean, always continuing to hear, continuing to do so, but I think especially within the chanting, because we're kind of focusing on that. If you chant with gratitude, Krishna is going to continue to reciprocate with you, and you're going to have a better and better idea of who you're dealing with and how valuable it is. And all of our devotional activities should help us to be connected with Krishna. And so the more we can understand who Krishna is and experience him in various ways, our gratitude is going to spike. It's just going to do it. But take whatever we have and do what we can do with it. It'll go. Mahamantrapu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you very, very much. I really needed this. So a couple of weeks back, I gave a class on holy name. Yes. And Mother Rukmini came to me, and actually she sent a message which I want to read. One second. Thank you so much for your heartfelt class full of pure devotion yesterday. It was a great inspiration for chanting the holy name, and I learned so much. I will sincerely try to apply your instructions during this month of Kartik. Thank you so much for going so deeply into the practice of chanting the holy name. I am so happy to hear that when we are calling out Krishna's name, he's thinking, my child is calling me, how beautiful. Can you tell me where that is in Srimad Bhagavatam? Thank you so much. Deep gratitude. Rukmini Devdasi. So when I received this letter, this message, I was thinking, I mean, she's so kind. She's appreciating me. Prabhu, you know my struggles. I'm not pure. My chanting is not pure. But I was so attracted to, her quality of this trying to learn. Where is Mother Rukmini? Where am I? And but yet she wants to inquire. She wants to thank, and she says she wants to implement in Kartik chanting. That's coming from deep gratitude. That's what I felt. It's not just humility, just deep gratitude. As both of them go hand in glove. It really made me humble, Prabhu.
Yeah. Because we're going to be talking about that next week.
Yeah.
At least maybe the next 2 weeks. I think the next verse takes a couple of weeks actually.
Yes. Yes.
But that gratitude and humility are pretty much synonymous, especially when gratitude increases, it becomes humility.
Yes.
And so there's the qualities in the next verse are quite surprising to us as material beings, but actually make perfect sense.
Yes.
So we'll look at that. But it's someone like Rukmini is she's inexperienced and quite an elevated soul, but she's but she's not thinking in that way.
Yes. Thank you, Prabhu.
Sachin Prabhu?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. One thing that really resonated with me, and it struck home, and I know it did, and I know when it happened, but you enunciated it or verbalized it very well, was sometimes as you're chanting, as you get on a little more interested in the holy name, you find out about it, and you get a deep appreciation and gratitude, and you start to chant better rounds. This happened to me maybe about 6 years ago when I really got on the binge of finding out what the holy name was for the first time in 20 years. And I listened to so many lectures by Mahatma Das, read so many books, and appreciated what I was actually doing. And I made great strides in chanting. And Mahatma Das once told me in one of his lectures, what will happen if you get your ego into it, false ego. And you had talked about that. And I started going to the temple saying, oh, I'm actually really good at chanting now. And these people next to me are not. They're doing it wrong. Yes. And I felt so hard that I almost gave up chanting, and I offended the holy names and devotees so much by that mentality. And just starting to get back now, but that appreciation that I have now for having gone through that it was very tough to go through, but it is so easy to fall into that trap, because as you make strides, you feel that I'm doing something. Yes. Or Krishna, I got it. You helped me, but now I'm doing it. And it's so easy to fall into that trap because it's, I fell into it really easily. So thank you for enunciating that. It really put it into perspective for me.
Thank you for sharing that. I think we've all been through that probably multiple times. That's exactly what the ego wants to do. It wants to say, okay, I understood this now I'm applying it. I'm chanting really well. Therefore, it's working really well. Yeah. Taking credit, We don't want to be mercy cases. Again, it doesn't mean that we're passive. It just means that the credit goes to Krishna. But isn't that, that's what we always say, that even if we do service, the results belong to Krishna. We're not the doers. It doesn't mean you're not active, but it means that you're acting only because of Krishna's mercy. We're devotees only because of Krishna's gift and his help.
So that may be something we want to remind ourselves every day we chant.
Yes.
So we don't fall, because I'm scared of falling back into that. It was terrible, because you know, after you chant such good rounds for, months or years, you don't want to go backwards, and it was painful to go backwards. So you're saying the advice is to keep that gratitude every time you come to chant the holy name.
Yeah, as much as possible, whenever you possibly can, and realize it's the holy name that's doing the heavy lifting of changing you. You do have to. You said we have to respond. There's no doubt about it. But it's a gift that we can't repay, and it's the holy name that causes us to advance, not our expertise. It's not. I mean, it doesn't take that much to be grateful. It's not anything praiseworthy. You know what I mean? And to do something, whatever we can do in return. It's not any big deal. So thank you for sharing that. Okay, well, I think we're kind of, if there's anything else that someone is burning to say, we can do it. But otherwise, I think we're kind of running over time. We'll let you all go back to your busy lives.
One last question.
I just say,
You have a Dagda Prabhu?
Krishna is a living conception.
Exactly.
Means in real time, things are going on. Like this Prabhu just said, Sachindra Krishna, that we're not to think that, somehow we're never done. This is a journey that doesn't end in a week, a month, a year, 10 years, or maybe even a lifetime. So we have to watch ourselves because Krishna is present. And just because we're successful one day doesn't mean that if we do something the next day, that the situation may change. We have to be on our toes. I mean, does that make any sense?
Oh yeah. Exactly. Yeah. It has to be. We have to be alive. He's living, and we're also living. So if we go through a routine, then somehow our heart isn't in it, right? So somehow we're there. Encountering Krishna should be afresh every time. The more we have a routine, okay, I'm doing this, then it's no longer alive anymore. So yeah, it's right on point. All right. So yeah, I will send out also, till I have my little email list and stuff of recordings and nobody says you have to listen to them, but I'll send them out if you want them. I thank you for bearing with me last week with the technical difficulties, and nice to see you this week. Get you. I think it's going to take 2 times to deal with the next verse, and because that's also super relevant to us. And so we'll see what we do. We'll start the 3rd verse at least next time. We'll see how far we get. All right, Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Giri. Thank you for a nice class, Prabhu.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prabhu.
Thank you very much.